He beat me with a bat, dumped me in a garbage can, left me to die in a freezing cold storage locker. When I was rescued, I thought my ordeal was over, but I was wrong.
Can I help you?
The woman saying these words is Teri Jendusa. She is whispering because she is struggling to breathe and because she does not want to be heard. She repeats an address several times, knowing it may be the only information she is able to give. The call was placed on the morning of Saturday, January 31st, 2004, and it reached the Racine County 911 Dispatch Center in Wisconsin. At the time of the call, Teri is bound with duct tape around her head, arms, and legs. She is inside a plastic garbage can that has been packed with snow. The container is in the back of a pickup truck that is already moving. Teri does not know where she is being taken, and she does not know how long she will remain conscious. Police are immediately dispatched to the address Teri gives during the call. What responders do not yet know is that the person responsible for the call, Teri's ex-husband David Larson, has already left the location. To understand how this situation developed, investigators later reconstructed the events that led up to that morning. Teri Jendusa was born in the mid-1960s and raised in Wisconsin. She grew up in a stable household and maintained close relationships with her siblings. After high school, she attended the University of Wisconsin-Parkside, where she lived an active social life and began planning for a future that appeared conventional and secure. In 1983, Teri met David Larson through mutual friends. At that time, the relationship was not romantic. They socialized occasionally in group settings and remained acquaintances for years. Their lives went in different directions, and they lost contact. In 1995, they reconnected. Teri had recently ended a long-term relationship, and David had recently left the Marine Corps. Both were looking for stability and companionship. They began dating, and within a relatively short period of time, the relationship became serious. Teri later stated that she ignored warning signs early on. David had a noticeable temper and often treated service workers with hostility. He frequently became angry with waiters, cashiers, and clerks. Teri found the behavior embarrassing and uncomfortable, but because the anger was not directed at her initially, she believed it was something she could tolerate.
These people don't always come off as being abusive and violent right away. They can be very charming. They seem like they're very sweet, like they have everything together, and you really need to watch for the signs of control that come out later.
They married in April of 1996. 4 days into their honeymoon in Hawaii, an argument escalated into violence. According to Teri's later testimony, David struck her because he did not like what she was wearing. When she refused to change, he told her that marriage meant she had to obey him and that she now belonged to him. That was the first time he hit her, but it would not be the last. After returning to Wisconsin, the abuse continued and gradually intensified. David's behavior followed a pattern that is common in abusive relationships. Periods of calm were followed by outbursts of anger and physical violence. He justified his actions by framing marriage as a contract that gave him authority over Teri. In his view, disobedience warranted punishment. Teri attempted to leave the relationship multiple times. Each time, David promised to attend counseling or anger management classes. Once the immediate conflict subsided, he refused to follow through. The pattern repeated itself over several years. As time passed, David's control extended beyond physical abuse. He required Teri to quit her job, limiting her financial independence. He restricted her contact with friends and family. He took possession of her car, even though it was registered in her name. He controlled the household finances and denied her access to financial information. Teri was given a small weekly allowance and required to keep receipts for her spending. This level of control left Teri increasingly isolated. Later, she explained that she felt compliance was the safest way to avoid escalation, even though the abuse never stopped. When Teri became pregnant, David's behavior temporarily improved. Their first daughter, Amanda, was born in 1997. Their second daughter, Holly, was born in 1999. Teri hoped that becoming a father would change David permanently. It did not. In late 1999, during an argument, David involved their children in the conflict. Accounts vary as to whether he screamed at Amanda or pushed Teri while she was holding Holly, but Teri later stated that this incident marked a turning point. She realized that staying in the marriage meant exposing her daughters to the same environment she had endured. Teri left with the children and sought help at a women's shelter. She filed for divorce. David contested the divorce aggressively. He delayed proceedings, refused to provide documentation, and repeatedly argued with judges and attorneys. His behavior resulted in multiple contempt citations. On January 31, 2001, the divorce was finalized. Despite the documented history of abuse, the court awarded joint custody of the children. This decision required Teri to continue interacting with David during custody exchanges. David insisted that these exchanges take place at his home rather than in public locations. Teri objected but was required to comply. During this period, Teri joined a local community chorus. There, she met Nick Nicolai. Nick respected Teri's situation and waited until the divorce was final before pursuing a relationship. Over time, their friendship developed into a stable partnership. Nick formed a close bond with Amanda and Holly. Teri and Nick married in October of 2003. By early 2004, Teri had begun rebuilding her life and career. On January 30, 2004, she and Nick learned that she was pregnant. They planned to tell the children the next day. The following morning, January 31, 2004, Teri drove alone to David's residence to pick up Amanda and Holly. Nick offered to accompany her, but Teri declined, believing his presence might increase tension. The weather that morning was extremely cold, with snow covering the ground and strong winds. Teri arrived around 10 a.m. David told her the children were not ready. She waited outside for approximately 20 minutes, pacing the driveway to stay warm. When David finally opened the door, the children were not visible. He told Teri they were hiding and asked her to come inside to look for them. Although she felt uneasy, Teri entered the house. Once inside, David struck her in the head with a baseball bat. He continued hitting her repeatedly, causing severe injuries. During the assault, he yelled that Teri had always accused him of abuse and that now she would see what abuse really was. Teri lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness, David was restraining her with duct tape. He wrapped her arms, legs, and head. At one point, her pants slipped down, and David became fixated on the idea that she was trying to make him look bad. His behavior appeared increasingly detached and irrational. After binding her, David placed Teri inside a plastic garbage can. He packed snow around her body and loaded the container into the back of his pickup truck. He then placed Amanda and Holly in the truck and drove away. Inside the garbage can, Teri realized her phone was still in her jacket pocket. Despite severe injuries and restricted movement, she managed to loosen the tape around her wrists enough to dial 911. She gave David's address. Police were dispatched immediately. By the time officers arrived at the house, David had already left. As officers approached the area, they unknowingly passed David's truck, with Teri still inside. Police forced entry into the house, believing someone inside might be in distress. The house was empty. Neighbors gathered and informed officers of the violent history between Teri and David. Meanwhile, Teri managed to call Nick and tell him what had happened. Nick immediately contacted 911 and reached the same Racine County Dispatch Center that had received Teri's first call. As he relayed what Teri had told him, dispatchers began to understand that the earlier call was part of a much more serious and ongoing situation. Shortly afterward, Teri managed to place a second 911 call herself. By that point, David had crossed into another jurisdiction, and the call was routed to a different dispatch center. Unlike the first call, this dispatcher did not recognize the severity of what was happening and appeared to believe the call might be a prank. During the call, the dispatcher questioned Teri's ability to speak and showed little sense of urgency.
Hello? Can I help you? My husband is trying to kill me. Your husband's trying to kill you? Does he have you handcuffed or what? Masking tape. Masking tape? Then how are you holding the phone? Do you want to talk to me or do you just want to deep breathe?
By the time the call ended, David had already crossed into Illinois, further complicating the search and delaying coordinated response efforts. As the truck continued, Teri attempted to extend her hand out of the garbage can to signal passing drivers. David noticed, pulled over, struck her again with the bat, and threatened to shoot her if she tried again. He took her phone. Teri then decided to play dead. David drove to a storage facility in Wheeling, Illinois. He wheeled the garbage can into a unit, sealed it with duct tape, stacked boxes around it, and left. Back in Wisconsin, police expanded the search. Amber Alerts were issued for the children, and an all-points bulletin was released. Inside David's house, officers discovered blood-soaked duct tape and Teri's pants. The amount of blood indicated life-threatening injuries. Later that day, police located David driving to work and pulled him over. He appeared calm and cooperative. He gave inconsistent accounts of the morning and claimed the children were safe. Officers observed blood on his pants. During questioning, detectives found a storage unit card in his wallet. Police contacted the facility. An attendant reported hearing noises coming from the unit. Officers forced entry. Inside the garbage can, they found Teri alive. Her body temperature had dropped to 86 degrees. She had survived approximately 27 hours. Teri lost all 10 toes to frostbite, suffered kidney failure, and miscarried.
I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it. This reached a bigger audience. I think watching it, your heart races for you. You wonder, how in the world did she survive 24 hours in a freezing situation in a garbage bin? How did you get through those 24 hours? What was your mindset?
Actually, I was thinking about my faith, thinking about my girls, how I needed to fight to stay here for them, and that's what kept me going.
David Larson was later convicted on multiple felony charges, including attempted first-degree intentional homicide, kidnapping, and interstate domestic violence. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he remains incarcerated. Teri survived and later became an advocate for victims of domestic abuse, using her experience to educate others and support legal reforms. If you have thoughts on this case, or believe there are lessons that still need to be discussed, share them in the comments. And if you want more true crime documentaries, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future investigations.